Hello, and welcome to this video on Clan Angrund and Belegar IronHammer. So for turn 1, you want to just put all your heroes in and underway over as quickly as possible. Believe me when I say that if you let them build up for an extra turn, it becomes a very, very difficult campaign. So in terms of technologies, I like to go for public order and the diplomatic bonuses to dwarfs, and then I'll go down the sort of battle technology line and get a bunch of bonuses to the quarrelers and thunderers. Also in this first turn, very important, make sure you are getting as many treaties as possible. You can get it with quite a few, and it's very valuable for the trade agreements. Now, this guide that I'm doing will be aimed at legendary difficulty, but I'm sure will work pretty well on the lower difficulties as well. So you can just auto-resolve this next battle. I didn't have any trouble doing that. And once you take that, you want to be getting the resources, so you want to get the forestry or the wood, because you can get a bunch of trade agreements, and it just gives you a hell of a lot of extra gold, which you really need for Clan Angrund, since they get the 50% penalty. Now, this guide is a Karak 8 picks rush, which I successfully managed to do by turn 16, which is really, really beneficial. There are other ways you can do it as well, but this is the best one. Now, when you do take Karak Budfa, what you want to be doing is deleting the hammerer, because it costs about 500. Recruiting three miners with the blasting charges. They're cheap and they dish out quite a lot of damage. And you want to be force marching to Zarakzil, and when you're in there, and then you want to end turn, and you have to fight this battle manually because you take too many casualties. Not a hard battle though, so you do have the heroes, so you are pretty effective. And as you can see, I am getting rid of the miner. Not the ones with blasting charges, they're still pretty good. Getting quarrelers, you're going to need them. And just leveling up on my heroes. So always make sure you're looking at diplomacy, trying to get treaties with all the watertight factions. It can get you a lot of extra gold. At this point, instead of going straight for Karak 8 picks, you could go for Skaven Blight. Just kind of wait until they've committed to somewhere else and then just take it. They're not going to have a huge garrison. And killing off Clan Squire is pretty much the only threat in this area to you. I haven't found them to be too much of a problem though, since they're generally dealing with Bretonia. But there's always a risk that they declare war on you. And I would say that's a slightly easier way of doing this campaign, but definitely going to Karak 8 picks is the best option. So for all your provinces, you want to just be prioritizing gold buildings. So Zarakzil doesn't have a special building, so you just want to be building a mine of some sort. And as you can see, I finish off the army with a couple of extra miners and a couple of extra quarrelers. And one of the reasons I go for a lot more miners than I do just the dwarf warriors, apart from cost, is that you do have all your heroes, and they do provide a very solid front line. You just have to be careful about the lord in each army in the early game, because they'll still lose out to the lords in the army, except for maybe Belegar, but if he's surrounded by a bunch of infantry and their lord, he is still going to struggle. And if you do go for Skaven Blight instead of rushing Karak 8 peaks, it's way easier, since everyone hates Clan Squire, to get a bunch of trade agreements and all that kind of stuff. But the mutinous gits do like to come over and attack you, which can be difficult, especially when your Skarsnik also comes around about turn 20, which can be a problem. And that can kind of hamstring you quite a lot. But it's a safer option, and once you've dealt with that, you generally can just head over and take Karak 8 peaks, or maybe Clan Moors have finished them off, and they're a lot easier to deal with than the greenskins. So as you can see, I got a military access with the border princes, and I've sort of just force marched over. Get as much money as you can from any of these agreements. And as you can see, I underway, which I think is the quickest way. If you want to do a bit better, you can underway a little bit lower, so you're not in Grimgor territory. But often he doesn't confederate this early, this faction. And I haven't found Grimgor to be a problem in my 2 run-throughs of this, which is only 2 run-throughs of this. He wasn't too much of a concern. He was kind of busy dealing with everyone else, as he always does. Now, it might be best just to underway your way instead of force marching, since you do take some casualties, and the next couple of battles are going to be pretty difficult. You want to be building gates at Karak Izor. Skarsnik is going to come down, and you will need to deal with him. It can be hard, though. I'll talk about that later. So this is the key part of this campaign. When you do head close to Karak 8 peaks, the mutinous gits will either, around this turn, one thing they like to do is either send an army near you and ambush you, or they'll attack you. So in this particular playthrough, they attacked me. But you do need to be aware that when you are around this area, they will either ambush you or attack you. And so if they don't attack you, they may be waiting in ambush. And if they do get that ambush, it's pretty much over. You've got way too many quarrelers to deal with that. But if you do successfully get past this bit, then you do need to take Varenka Hill. You need that replenishment. You need that base of operations in order to start attacking Karak 8 peaks. And unfortunately for you, it generally is a walled settlement. So it's not going to be that easy. In this case, and I think one time they didn't have an army there, one time they did, and in this case they did have an army. Not the easiest battle, definitely the hardest one you'll fight. Try not to take too many casualties. For Belegar's campaign in general, corner camping and your heroes are your friends. But it's still pretty difficult, and this fight's definitely the hardest. I only did 2 playthroughs, so I can't say if the faction leader of Clan Vulcan is there. He has a Doom Wheel, so that might be much, much harder, and you might not be able to do that, but you won't always get that, so it's just trial and error. Now, as you can see, I took some damage. You're kind of hoping that they don't come out. This whole plan was based on the fact that the mutinous gits are very defensive of Karak 8 peaks. They always, at this stage, like to keep an army in Karak 8 peaks. Trust me, I've tried to get their army out, but they don't take any kind of bait. So, in this case, they didn't attack me, which was really good. It allowed me to replenish. And so I would just bank on them not sending their last army out because they want to keep it there to protect it. You can choose, if you've taken a lot of casualties, you can choose to delete some troops, but try not to delete too many. In this end turn, I did get attacked by another army they'd made. It wasn't the strongest army, well, not the hardest battle, but the whole game plan is to just weaken them. They will attack you when they can, and they'll generally underestimate or overestimate themselves. Clan Vulcan, I haven't found to be much of a threat. They're pretty defensive. they're not going to try and attack you. Or at least I haven't found them doing very much at all. Sorry, they didn't actually attack me over this end turn. So what happened here was I kept the barracks. I managed to get a barracks, which was good. Allowed me to build some strong units. You might not get that, but you probably will as well. Depends. You can just make miners if you have to. Here I tried to get people to help me with wars. Didn't really happen. Both Skarsnik. Skarsnik's pretty strong when you're playing Clan Angrund. They tend to have 2 stacks. No one really wants to declare war on them. Same with the Mutinous Gits. So you're kind of on your own there, but give it a go if you want. So I got attacked over the end turn, as you can see. Not the hardest battle. They underestimated me, which is good. So when I finish off this army, this means that they only have 1 army in Karak 8 Peaks. And I forgot to mention this, but in terms of leveling up your heroes, as you can see, I went down the battle line. This is solely, and I got the Orcsbane. This is just solely for the Karak 8 Peaks battle. They're going to always have at least 1 stack in there, plus the garrison. If you do rush and you're this quick, it'll only be a tier 2 settlement, so you won't be dealing with a huge garrison. But you do want to save these turns in order to... or use a couple of turns in order to get replenishment. When I attack Karak 8 Peaks, I like to have a full stack. Get those mercenaries if you can. Sometimes that won't happen. It's not that important. You don't need them now. For the Forge, you should be able to get some runes now. Get that rune with the leadership debuff. You have 3 heroes. That's -9 leadership plus fear for Belegar. The ghosts already have terror, so you don't have to worry about it, but it helps a lot. It does mitigate, for the most part, the legendary leadership bonus that they get. It helps a lot, even if you don't notice it. But unlike the other Dwarven campaigns, which tend to focus on growth or public order, I like to focus on ammunition and just my quarrelers, because the more ammunition you have, the easier the siege is. So the replenishment for the miners in this fight isn't that important. It's mainly the quarrelers. As you can see, I've got all full health quarrelers. And I check to see how much of an army they have. I check the garrison. I can see they don't have a huge one. And I'm pretty confident in... I buffed up all my units as much as I can, and I've got a really good chance, I think, of doing this. So for this battle, I've sped everything up. Feel free to slow it down. It just gives you an idea of what I did. Nothing too revolutionary, but I hope it helps if you are struggling. Okay, so once you've taken out Karak 8 peaks, congratulations, that's the hard part of the campaign done. Not that it gets that much easier now. You still got to verse the greenskins and all that. But that's kind of the end of this guide. Now, what I'm going to be talking about from here for a little bit is sort of the general direction you might want to take, or what I've found works quite nicely. So this campaign particularly that I did, I went south to try and confederate Thoric, which, I mean, it worked out. I still won the campaign, but it was a lot harder, and I had to put in a lot more effort and thought, and, you know, I played this game too much, so I kind of knew what to do, but it is definitely not the right decision. What I would do from this position is finish off Clan Vulcan, consolidate their territory, and then go for the Skull Crag, or whichever the minor greenskin faction is next to them, get all of their settlements, consolidate that area, and then once you've done that, you just got to see what's happening on the map. Generally, what I found is Clan Moors is a bad idea to go for. They tend, if they don't head north and take Karak 8 picks, I find that they like to be at war with Khalida and the Last Defenders, and just in that general area of the map. Sometimes they might declare war on you. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but if they don't, what you want to be doing is focusing your attention on the greenskins, because they're your biggest threat as the dwarves. Not that the skaven or anything to sort of push aside, but it really is Grimgor that does the most damage. Now, personally, what I would like to do is I would head west, because you've still got Skarsnik. You've got to remember, you've got to deal with Skarsnik, who's actually very difficult for you. So I would head west, take out the Vampire Count faction if they're still alive, which I would be surprised if they are. And then, once you've taken them out, I would deal with Wurzag, get him confederated with Grimgor. Avoid going to war with Grimgor. Try and maybe get someone to let you join the war with Wurzag. And once you've got that happening with Wurzag, I would go deal with Skarsnik. So when you're gone and you're taking Karak 8 peaks, chances are Skarsnik's going to attack Karak Izor and take all those minor settlements. So you need to build wars on Karak Izor, but once they've taken those 2 settlements, they're not going to attack you until they get 3 full stacks, which I found is impossible to deal with. You can kill like 80% of them, but it's just 3 times the army. It's just too much, even for the dwarves. And so when they've besieged your settlement, I like to build a lord there, which often spawns Gotrek and Felix, who I would take and replace the lord with, because they don't have any supply lines. And they can be used to guard the settlement, because they're pretty strong. They're very good at taking out lords. Not the best at taking out large groups of infantry, but they're all right. And I would fight, once they've besieged Karak Izor and they've got 2 stacks, hopefully you've got at least a lord or Gotrek and Felix in there. What I would do is I would sally out. Don't wait for them, because they're not going to attack you. They're going to wait till they've got more than enough forces to take it. And even if you lose that battle, you're going to lose it if you wait as well. So just try and win that battle. And if you can, then you're in a much better situation. If you can't, well, they've taken that territory. And what you want to do is see if Grimgor wants to join war with him. And once that's happened, either you've taken all of your land back, or you've finished him off, or he's been confederated, you want to go for Grimgor. Take the Black Crag as a priority. It's going to be pretty hard. You do need Lightning Strike. Hopefully you've gone for Lightning Strike by that point. And do your best to deal with Grimgor. Hopefully Kazak's still alive. Just double check on them. Maybe you need to confederate them. Maybe they're on the brink of destruction and you want to get Gromvindul and Thorgrim. That's a great idea. And once you've dealt with Grimgor, you've got a few options. You can finish off Clan Eshin, you can go for Clan Moors. I would send a agent down south to get in touch with Thoric, so you have the opportunity to confederate him. Since I think, in my opinion, he is probably the second or strongest lord in terms of buffing an individual army. And so I think he's quite valuable to Confederate. But yeah, that's just how I would go about doing the campaign. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video.